G'day guys, Clint here, and we are recording episode number 62 of The Full Landscape in our special studio here in Victoria. Today, the guests on this podcast are David and Megan from Landscape Victoria Master Landscapers, and this is a bit of a great opportunity for me to actually meet my counterparts in the Landscape Association, but also to get a better understanding of landscaping in Victoria in general. So if you are a landscaper anywhere in the country, this is a good one for you. A bit of information about the Melbourne International Flower and Garden Show, the Landscape Show, and the initiatives that Landscape Victoria are working on daily. If you have any questions or comments, please do not hesitate to hit me up. If you're looking for more information about the podcast, it'll all be in the comments. That is it. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. So thank you for coming to our, special episode recording of the Full Landscape here in Victoria. For the people watching and listening at home, if you could, just give us a short introduction as to what you are doing in the industry and how you came to be in the position that you're in each, and then I'll get in with some questions.
Sure. Well, I'm a bit of a ring-in, really. So Megan, I'm the CEO of Landscaping Victoria, and have nothing to do with landscaping in my past, but really came into the role having strong sort of corporate background and marketing and events, and landed myself here quite by accident, and they haven't been able to get rid of me for over 8 years now. So
I was going to ask, so it's been 8 years. Okay. And David?
Yeah, so David Jarman. I've been in the trade for 40 years.
40 years?
Yeah, 40 years. Started when I was 15.
I was going to say, you start when you were 2?
Yeah.
55 now. No. And I jumped on the board 5 years ago, and then in the last, say 3 or 4 months, have stepped up to being president. Thoroughly enjoying it. Great challenge. Getting involved more, making decisions. Really enjoying it.
Did you operate as a vice president at any point, or you went straight from board member to president?
No, pretty well went from board member to president.
Yeah.
It was,
What about all those years as treasurer?
Oh, sorry, I didn't ask that.
Yeah, sorry.
You were a treasurer.
Yeah, there was quite a few years of treasurer. I've sort of been a part of a lot of different parts of the industry, and now this sort of got to the point where still enjoying it, but the opportunity came along where I could step up. And admittedly, I didn't take the role on like click of a finger. A lot of thought went into it because obviously there's a lot more work to go into it.
Took a number of people to railroad him into it, is what
you're
saying.
Yeah, I can resonate with the thought process. I think you want a president that doesn't just go, yep, I'll do it.
Yeah.
You want a president that goes, and takes considered approach to what it actually means to do that, I think.
Oh, look, I think by having the role that's been wanted is an asset. And look, like I say, I really had a lot of thought to it, and a lot of discussions and meetings with the past president and also the vice president. So, my role is to whether I stay as president for 1 or 2 years, but I've also now got a vice president under my wings, which he's been fantastic. So a lot of bouncing things off each other. And he's prepared to when I step down to take over. So it's going to be more of a transaction.
As Mr. Barker.
That's it.
Okay. I've met him recently, actually. We played golf in Adelaide not long ago. And Steve is actually our next guest.
Steve Lowe.
Yeah.
Okay.
So...
keeping it all in the Victorian family here.
Well, we're in Victoria for 4 days. We've got a few different things that we're taking care of business-wise here, and obviously we're a guest on your podcast yesterday, and I wanted to make sure that I wasn't sitting idle too long. I kind of, what is it, idle hands, the devil or something? I don't know what the exact term is, but if I'm left to my own devices for too long, I tend to just get drunk and do stupid things. So this is a much better use of my time. So do you have a tenure, is the constitution state that you can do 2 years or 1 year, or they vote president every year?
Well, generally what we have is every 3 years you re-nominate.
As a board member?
As a board member.
And then is the presidency annually?
Yeah, so what
annual.
Yeah.
Okay, so you may... Obviously, boards work in funny ways, but you could do a 2-year stint, or however that works. Yeah. And then, you're in your second 3-year period? Yes. Oh, so you'd have to re-nominate.
Yeah, that's right. So the end of this year, I'll then be re-nominated to whether they want.
And if you don't get a board position, then
then
Can't be the
see you
president.
later.
Yeah.
But no, look, I hope to stay on. And you know, there's a lot of plans that I've put in the back pocket that I want to bring out, and I've put to the board a fair few times, and it's a battle. But there's, you know, certain things I really want to take on board and get there eventually.
It's a challenge to get like really strong change inside a small industry in 12 months. Like how often do you meet?
Monthly.
Yeah,
Monthly. So you've only got so you got 11 meetings really, or 10 meetings depending
10,
on how you to try and push some change. Why now? Why did you kind of put your hand up and go, yep, it's time to be president? Like, do you feel like your business is at the right stage where you can afford the time, or?
Yeah. Well, look, I have a crew of 34 guys. I've got a business partner, 2 business partners, and I've set my business up so I can sort of step back a little bit.
Yep.
You know, I've sort of, my plans are to retire when I'm 60, so another 5 years, so you know, the people in my circle of internals is fantastic. So it gives me the option to come in and spend some more time with the industry and try and make some changes.
What, and if you don't have to share, but if you're happy to share, what are some things that were your focus, I guess, for your presidency?
Well, one of the big challenges that I have is that with the VBA, I really want to push further with our industry. Sure enough that, you know, any job over $16,000 you need to be licensed, but it's not, all it is a smack on the wrist.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So the licensing's got a financial connection to it. It's not just if you are paving, you must be licensed to pave. Is that a bit looser than? Is it a bit more complicated than that?
It's a little more complicated than that, in that you should be licensed to be doing the work, because you need to be licensed in order to qualify to hand out domestic building insurance, which is a government requirement as well. But you also need to be a licensed builder to be doing contracted works over 10,000. So really, I mean, how many jobs would be under 10 grand these days?
Melbourne? Taking your bins out.
Exactly. So
It's very different here.
to hand out a contract, you have to be a registered builder in order to hand out a domestic building works contract, and that everything's just sort of interlinked. The Contracts Act is linked with the building regs, and it all just goes hand in hand.
So is it fair to say that you think there's some reform required there, just
Look,
to tie it up a bit neater?
We just need more support from the VBA.
Yep.
It'd be nice to get it to a stage, just like, for instance, a registered builder, like for building homes, or an electrician. You know, they have to be in association. So we'd like to see that, you know, everyone that becomes a registered builder also become a member of LV.
Yeah. Okay. So LV is the recognised body that manages the licensing and regulation and education, I'm guessing.
Yeah. And it's just to weed out the cowboys. I mean, you get that in industry. In any industry, there are, you know, I'm sure there's cowboy plumbers out there, but on the whole, most residents who own a home would know that their plumber has to be licensed.
Well, there's been a massive education campaign around that.
Exactly. So that's worked very well in the plumbing space, and in the electrical space, the consumers know about that. But the VBA, as we see it, as that regulatory body for all building works, and that's, you know, not only sparkies and plumbers, but it covers us, waterproofers. You know, there's a whole host of other subsectors of the construction industry that we, and us being one of them, and landscaping, the value of the works that's done in landscaping, we don't feel that there's enough support from the government body to ensure that those cowboys are taken off the streets.
Yeah, there's a bit of a disparity between the value and the attention kind of thing. Like a landscape can cost what a house costs.
Absolutely.
And a house has got a lot more light being shone on it than a landscape.
Yeah.
It's sad and nice to hear that the challenges that you have in Victoria are we're not poles apart from the challenges that we're having in South Australia, and I think it's very much, I guess, state-based specifics, but national, problems. It's the same everywhere, I think.
It's the same issue as I understand it, and having these discussions as I have had with Amanda, with Inika in the past, with my other colleagues in the same position as myself in New South Wales and Queensland and WA, the whole lot of us, we've sort of all got the same issues. It just depends on the way each state has their regulatory body set up, which is all different, which brings its own set of complications as well, because we're kind of all having to dance in our own little corner and deal with our own things. It would be quite nice if there were national building codes and we could work collaboratively. But there are so many intricacies in each state, it makes it very difficult to have those conversations and to support each other, because we really have to do our own thing and run our own race in that particular department.
I think it's hard when you've got, I mean, we talked yesterday, what have you got, 3.2, you said, full-time equivalent employees that are trying to advocate alongside run awards, whatever your connection to Mifgs is, fundraising, this, it's hard. I think we're at 1.8. It's hard to then have enough bandwidth for you then to go support another state. So it's nice that you have access to each other, and I'd say as the CEO of these associations, it's probably half of the conversations is like, how are you dealing with these crazy board members? And
no,
surely
we don't talk about that at all.
But I don't envy you or Amanda. I think being a CEO is a challenging job as it is, but then to be a CEO for, in a lot of cases, a quite inexperienced board. Like a lot of we're very much, I mean, our board's quite young from a board behaviour standpoint. I had a look at your website earlier today, and it seems that you've got a decent experienced board. Like it's not all first term board members, but
we have a revolving door. So every year there's probably one or two who come on. So at the minute we've actually got 3 freshies who literally have just started last October, but the other 7 all have some experience under their belt.
That's a nice percentage. 70-30 to go, okay. Yeah. Because you kind of start to get some momentum on something, and then if you get a 50% board change, which you could do, we have 5 and 5, all of a sudden everything you've been working on, you have to not upskill, but kind of bring the people up to speed that have just joined to say, this is what we're working on. Obviously your vote matters, but let's keep trying to work in this direction. So
3 is the most I've seen in 8 years. It generally sits at about 2, but it just depends on that evolution of when people come in.
We just had 4 or 5, I think. We've got a very... and I actually like it. I think it's given, no one's come in with preconceived ideas around what, they shouldn't be doing or what they should be doing. So we've got these kind of young, and when I say young, they're young to the position, they're varying ages, but it's that they don't feel like, that there was this idea of how they should be behaving or what they should be doing. They've come in and gone, hey, let's do this, and they're all excited again. And you'll see it with new board members. Then why don't we just change this? And you're like, well, just like, and you've got to be careful not to say we've tried that before and it doesn't work, because you don't want to squash the energy of these
No, that's a really big key. Like, we've had times where we've been in the board meetings, and certain groups have brought up certain items they just want to push.
Which was the reason they got on the board. That was
you're
their
right,
axe to
but
grind,
we have to praise them, and that's one thing I do say all the time, is to say, look, that is absolutely fantastic, but let's just pull the reins in, put it on Megan's table. Let Megan address the points, and then we have those discussions from there. So, but we're very lucky. We've got a great group of people, and even with the last 3 that have come on board, and they start off a little bit gingerish, but within 2 or 3 meetings, they're right in amongst it, and they've got their role, and they know what they're doing, and it ticks all boxes. So every time we have a meeting, we'll have actions put in place for each group. So they'll go away, they'll come back, and they have to come back because it's going to be brought up again. So it sort of, in a way, makes them go away and be accountable of what suggestions they're making. That's what we tend to do, is when these board members make suggestions, go away, find out more information, we all back you, come back, let's play from there.
You have subcommittees underneath the main board, and they'll go and do the heavy lifting and then come back to board for... How many different subcommittees are there? Is it 4 or...
We've got finance and governance is one combined. Events and marketing is another one. Membership is a really key one. And training and education is the 4th one.
Similar, I think we might have one of them might have the word advocacy in it, but I think the challenge we've had is kind of finding the right names for them. We know what each of those subcommittees are actually responsible for, but some of them are quite broad. So that was a very selfish question for me, so that we can kind of, just steal the idea.
I think one important point to make, though, for anybody listening to this, either as a member of MLSA or LVML, or indeed from any other state, is that one thing I've noticed is when somebody has come onto the board and they've served their term, and then we've bid them farewell and thanked them for their time, and having those conversations with them around, what did you get out of the experience and that type of thing. A big one that comes out pretty much from everybody is the fact that they didn't realise how much work went on behind the scenes, and it gave them a better understanding as to why sometimes those wheels do turn slowly, and we've pulled the reins back on things, because there's a lot of other elements that contribute to the work that we do, whether it be regulations that we've got to adhere to, or we've got to check out with legal people if we can or can't do that. I think it's given them a much better understanding of why things don't just happen like that. And that's been something good, I think, for them to then share with other people that they talk to. And the other thing that I've seen, and I suppose this is a general call for anybody, any member listening in any membership organisation, do step up and take the time to give back to industry, because really everyone who's been on a board at some point in time will just say it's the best thing they ever did for themselves, for personal growth, to take concepts back into their own business. Nobody has ever walked away from that going, oh shit, that was a waste of time. Didn't get anything out of that. If you want to be selfish about it and get something out of it personally, you will, just by default of what you're doing. You'll get something out of it. It's a really valuable experience, I think. I
echo that massively. I think I talked about this yesterday on your podcast. Sometimes people will join boards for selfish reasons, and sometimes they'll join boards for selfless reasons, and it doesn't really matter why they join if they're actively pushing. But
even if it is selfless, you will still get something
selfish
from
benefits.
It.
Yeah, you meet, like, I've learned heaps, and I guess you've been in the corporate sector. You've touched on that in your introduction. Most of us haven't. Most of the people that work in the landscape industry have gone from into a trade, probably. They haven't done a university degree, or they haven't. It's in design or architecture or something. Not so much governance and legal. So it's all new, and we're kind of sitting there. And so now I'm like, okay, that makes sense. That's how we have to. And I've never been one sitting there going, what are they actually doing? Because I understand. I was on the board a long time ago, and you kind of. It's not. I think the challenge you've got is the business owners are the ones that have a problem, and they're like, well, in my business, I just say we're doing this and it's done. They're not dealing with governance and democracy like it's a dictatorship in a private business. And if LV was run as a dictatorship, I'm sure you would move things faster. And if you didn't have to worry about laws, then you would move things faster. But yeah, we're working on similar things, trying to have members come to meetings, or have members join subcommittees and actually be there and look at it. And even people that have issues with awards, come and be a judge. Drive around with the judges for 3 days and see what it's like. Like, come and experience it. And we had a client who's not landscaping anymore, and I had some issues with how the board was being run a while back, and he said, look, I do too, but I'm not willing to do anything about it, so I'm not talking about it. And that made me really go, yeah, like, if you have a problem with it, if you don't think it's right, come and do something about it. Come and put your hand up to democratic process. Like, it's, there's no...
And it's within the group. Everybody in an industry membership organisation, like we're both involved in, everybody does everything for everybody else and for the greater good. So it's really difficult sometimes when you do get somebody sitting back and whinging about the awards.
Well, it's easy to throw stones.
Very easy to throw stones. And that's one of the first things that I do, as you just said, invite them to be part of the process. And it generally has changed their minds, opened their eyes, and has really made them go, oh, whoops, perhaps I shouldn't have been so critical at the time, because they do get those insights as to how much effort goes into it, how seriously everybody takes the task. We've got members, if we approach someone and say, would you like to be a judge, they are so humbled by the invitation. It's like, oh, wow, I value these awards, and you think I'm good enough to judge it.
I'm not worthy, kind of.
I've been noticed. They love it. And people like that. They like to be noticed. Yeah. I mean,
Are your judges confidential, or do you publicise who's doing the judging?
No, but they know who the judges are. As into
the market?
Yeah.
So if you win an award, you know that these 6 or 8 people were the judges.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Does that have any negative connotation to the judges' personal lives or businesses from your experience?
No, because they do take it so very seriously.
So they're like I guess, honest beyond repute. Like they take it like it's.
Well,
One
one of the best things that happened was COVID. Okay, so
what a sentence!
It sucked. And we didn't do our awards in 2020. We pulled it all together.
We were the same in 21. We just got our awards in. We were in a gap, like a 1 month period.
Yeah. So in 21, we went ahead with them, albeit we had to adjust it slightly. And one of those things we had to adjust was how we judged, because ours is not a beauty competition. It's not send your photos in and we'll pick the best photo. And I think you are the same at MLSA.
Every site gets visited.
Yep, every site gets visited, and 9 times out of 10, that's with 2 sets of eyes on it. So it's not just one judge looking at it.
We'd be more.
Making an opinion.
Yep.
Minimum of 2 on
that
ours.
Makes sense.
Ours have more on it if that particular project is entered in multiple categories. Yep. So we've had some projects with up to 10 people looking at it. So
the judges are judging residential construction of this value, and that's 2 judges potentially.
Yes,
and
or it's in for design, or it's in for plants in the landscape. So it might be in for multiple categories. But what I saw through that is, because of the COVID restrictions that we had here in Victoria, which were mental compared to any other state, we had to work around that judging process, and that meant we had one person on site as a set of eyes with their phone or their iPad doing a live Zoom to all the other judges. So the other judges would say, I need you to go and look at this, go and show me the joins on the edge of the decking, and that person, the eyes on site, would take their phone over, go over, have a good look and say, oh, yep, looked really good, best mitering I've ever seen, whatever their comment was, show it to them. They go, okay, great, mark it. But because we'd had to set up those Zooms and record them, and there were all sorts of things we had to do in the background to make this all work, I was privileged, and I felt privileged to be able to sit in amongst, just quietly. I mean, it was just running in the background, and I wasn't sitting there listening intently, but it was just running, and my camera was off and my mic was off. But just listening to the commentary from that group of people looking at somebody else's project, the respect that they have for anybody who enters the awards is amazing, because they all know the effort it takes in the first place. Their commentary and the way they took that job so seriously. It was as if they were, gosh, are we going to send this man to the gallows or not? It really just made me feel so good about the industry and about the integrity of these people and of the awards program. And it was a really good insight for me to see that, because otherwise I don't go out with the judges and hold their hands. But because we had to do it under these circumstances, it was really good to see. And I can now, hand on heart, when people do make a complaint, say it is not like that at all. I have seen it firsthand. I know how seriously they take the job, because they don't want to be handing out an award, just to anybody. They want to make sure that it's worthy, and the skills are there, and thought has been put into those gardens and those landscapes that have been built. So it was a really wonderful thing to see.
But also, even after the awards, we have a review on how it all went, and they all come in. We have a group meeting, and they're just so passionate. And if anyone's criticised, because that's what it's all about, is we have people which do complain, so we put it onto the table, and they take it to heart. They really do. But we resolve matters so that we make it better for the next year.
So they score out of a score, and that gets calculated. Are those scores publicly available to the people that have entered, or they just get a feedback? They might get a paragraph around, judges' feedback.
The entrant can ask for their feedback forms, so they will get. And we specifically say to the judges, be as descriptive as you can. Yeah. Don't just mark that it's gotten 8 out of 10.
This was okay.
Say why. So there's a lot of descriptors that we use in our judging sheets, which already give a rough bit of feedback as to why it might have got 8 out of 10 or 1 out of 10 if it was really poor. But there's an open section for them to put comments, and it's really important to the whole process that they do put that there, because one of the things we want to encourage, or why we want people to enter the awards, is to improve themselves, and then they can't do that if they don't get the feedback that the judges have given them. So that's
and they do on the night. I've seen many times where the contractor will go up to the judge and just say, look, totally understand this contractor won, but can I have a bit of feedback? And so that's something that we hear when we review the awards on that next couple of weeks after we finish.
Yeah, that's something. We have some differences in how it's being handled in South Australia, and I'm kind of curious about what you're doing and why. And I don't know if your awards are more mature than ours, or there's a larger volume or whatever. But it's good to hear a different perspective and be able to kind of have something to go back with. I've been bullish on transparency with my presidency. I make videos to try and communicate what we're doing all the time, so that there's this, public, to take away that concern about what are they actually doing. Do these guys just sit in a room once a month and drink wine?
Faceless men.
Yeah, and women. And sorry, that was me correcting myself more than you. But and then obviously with the awards for the same thing. Have you entered the awards with your business?
Yeah, definitely in the past.
Yep.
Yeah, for many years.
And you don't now?
Look, we do. This year, admittedly, I didn't, because I just felt that if we had won an award, it could be a bit sketchy.
Yeah. It's sad. I'm seeing that at our board
yeah.
level as well, that there's some very, very skilled contractors that are like, I'm sitting this year out because I want to judge, or because I'm on the board, and judges can enter, and that's fine. That's part of the process.
We don't allow judges to enter, so if they sit out,
then they can be a judge.
To judge. Yeah. They
and I'm on the same page for that, and this is me speaking as me, not as the president, that I think if you're a judge in any of the categories, you're not entering. And I think we've talked loosely about like judge sharing and like saying, okay, LV, we'll swap you a judge for a judge, and then obviously there's an economics behind that we have to understand, but like fly 2 judges from here to Adelaide to judge Adelaide's awards, and then it's legitimately independent. It's being judged by people that understand the craft, but they're not connected at all. So anyway, I don't want to spend too much time on it. I was just curious about I guess your experience, and if you found it worthwhile, and if you had won awards and what that meant for the business, if you had.
Winning awards makes a big difference.
Yeah.
I mean, admittedly, I think it was around about 4 years ago or 3 years ago, we won Pool of the Year. And, I was on the board then, but, I had my business partner who went up and sort of accepted most of that. But I just felt by being at this level, it wasn't right to...
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think it's nice, and it's noble, and it feels probably like the right thing to do, but you also couldn't be... If people are going to throw stones, they're going to throw stones.
Yeah.
Regardless of what position you're in. So, on the way up here, we were talking about your shirt. Obviously, I've seen you twice in 2 days, and you've been quite colourful.
It's a bit much.
No, not at all. But yeah, talk to me about the shirt. I wasn't sure if it was your uniform, and explain to me, and obviously why you're not wearing yours, but
he's just not a fashion dresser.
He looks
no. Look,
he looks stylish in black.
Admittedly, like I said to you, as you walked up and I first met you, we were having the discussion about the shirts, and we'd only just been given the shirts, and I said to Megan, I should be wearing my shirt. And then you rolled up and you made the comment about the shirt, and as we said, the shirt's been designed and we put it through to the industry for mental health. And it creates a conversation, and it's exactly what happened when you walked up. You created the conversation, and between the time we left that foyer to up to this door, we knew more about each other purely because of this shirt. So I got a little bit warm and fuzzy about that, because
then you're feeling disappointed.
And it's a really good story to tell, because it's doing exactly what we want it to do, and it's a great idea.
And I wish we could take credit for that, but we can't. So it's based on a social enterprise called This Is a Conversation Starter, or TIACS for short. So TIACS.org is their website. They are our preferred charity partner, and the reason we decided to team up with them was because they provide mental health support services for tradies, blue collar workers, anybody who basically works in an industry that might not be paid millions of bucks, and they might not necessarily be able to afford to see a shrink. And this all started from 2 guys, Dan and Ed. You can read their whole story. I won't give you the whole thing, but effectively, one of them had a friend who committed suicide. They thought that there was more conversations needed to be had, particularly amongst men and in the tradie sort of area. Hit upon this idea to wear ridiculously loud work shirts to start conversations about mental health. And now it's grown to the point that they have, I think they've now got 14 counsellors. There's a phone number. You can either ring or text, and you can connect with a counsellor pretty much straight away. So they wanted to take away the hurdles for somebody to have to make an appointment to see their GP, have to apply for a mental health plan, go and get an appointment with a shrink, which might take, in these times, could be 6 to 12 months before you can even see someone. Though if you are on the edge and you need help, you need to talk to someone, you need that to be now, not in 12 months' time and jumping through all those hurdles. So that's the concept of the program. We applied last year for a small government grant that the Victorian government were handing out to help small businesses implement wellbeing programs for their staff. We applied for that and got it, and part of what we have done for our members is to develop a series of wellbeing resources on our website, so all of our members can access that, as can anybody. We've made it kind of like open source, to use that term. Anyone can just register on the website to get access to that portal of information, which we think is really important. And then another part of the funding we used to get our own shirt. So as well as this being a loud shirt, if you can see the detail on it, it's actually got our little leaf logo on it. So this is a custom print that we had done. Obviously we've had it branded. We're making it available for our members to buy as well. They can then get their own branding on the other side or on a sleeve or whatever they want to do. But it's for them to have either for all of their staff if they're small, or they might just have, you know, a handful of people who are ambassadors for their own internal wellbeing program. But it's a way for them to identify within their own staff network, hey, you know, Scooter over there, he's the wellbeing captain, ambassador, whatever you want to call them. You know, if you've got any issues, go and have a chat with him and he can help you out, or she can help you out, or whoever it happens to be. Or point you to the resources that we've got, or remind you of the phone number for the TX, whatever it is. We're very conscious that, look, as much as we want women in the industry, there aren't a lot. We've got to face facts. It's like 96% men. Men don't like talking about stuff. We've got to get those conversations starting, and it's really good to see those sorts of things happening out there. We know that, we get stats from TX. We are an alliance partner with them because we provide them with funding to help the work that they do, because we are so invested in the concept of what they do. They provide us with a report, and they are helping hundreds of people every month, and really talking some people off the edge of the ledge, which is great work that they're doing. And you don't even have to be at that point. You could be having relationship troubles, financial troubles. You know, for apprentices, it might be of having troubles with mum and dad at home. Whatever it is, they've got counsellors there to talk to you and help you and provide you with some guidance on how to deal with what your particular issue is. So it's really interesting to be part of their family and see how valuable the work is that they're doing, how many people they're able to help, the types of people who are coming through. They're ringing in from all over Australia. It's good for us to, you know, as managers of the program, to get those insights into those statistics that they give us. But we know that it is definitely helping.
It's confidential though, right?
Absolutely,
yeah.
it's
so
confidential.
You're getting statistics
we get stats on
numbers, not
no
individuals. Just to be clear to anyone listening, that
would not have a clue who rings them up. That's their
they can
department.
feel safe that they're having a private conversation with a trained professional.
Absolutely, and as I said, they can text them as well. So they've said that, you know, people have reported to them, yeah, it's Smoko, I'm sitting on my phone, as most people are these days. Some of them might be watching TikTok, but somebody could be sitting there actually texting the counsellor that they've been assigned, you know, checking in with them. How's your day going? And, yeah, I'm coping with this, or I'm doing that. Or so it could be via text as well, which is really convenient for people, because they literally can be doing it right under the noses of their colleagues.
Well, and their employers, which it's probably important to remind employers that not all your staff are being troublesome if they're on their phone.
They're not all watching TikTok
They
reels.
might be actually seeking help.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
we get some good feedback for the companies that have already invested in the shirts. Like there's one company that that came up to me and he said to me, "We have a Funky Friday."
Yep.
So their whole team will wear the shirts. I had
Are they high vis? Are they considered?
They do.
They're not up to standard, or they do have that as well.
They do have shirts that you can buy that have got
Yep.
the colour on the sleeves and
Yep.
colour in a couple
And
of
high vis where it
but
needs
high
to be.
vis
Yeah.
on the chest area. We just elected to go with this. We felt that it was it's
You
more
don't
a
need to be high
statement
vis.
piece.
Yeah. And so that, would you say Funky Fridays?
Funky,
they call
Funky
it
Shirt Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there was another one which came up and said that he has one of his a bigger company as one of his staff members that wears that every day. So and
He's the nominated.
Yeah, he's been nominated so that if you've got if any of the, and we're talking a company that could have 60 to 80 people, but they're recognised. So if any of the staff have a problem, they go and have a chat to him.
There's always one employee in that business that will be
100%.
like, "Give me the shirt.
Yeah.
I'm the guy or the
Yep.
girl."
Yeah.
Obviously, 4% of them are saying, "I'm the
But
girl."
there's also in every company there'll be somebody that has mental health issues.
And increasingly high, and not somebody, like percentages. And
Yep.
we do in my company, separate to I guess the landscape, we have a lot of support options available, which we don't really publicise. But I think if you want to be a modern leader, you need to have mental health support in your chest of tools. Otherwise, you're kind of falling behind. It's not just understanding the trade and a bit of finance. There's also that person struggling, and what have we got in place. But it's probably important for the next level of management below ownership to understand what they can and can't do. Like what have we got? Have we got a budget for mental health support, or have we got a person that we go to, or is there a mental health first aid? Obviously that's the thing now, but this is a really cool thing because it really won't cost employers any money if you've got employers that are concerned about the cost of it, right? Like
No, well, they can basically just publicise to their staff, if you need help, here's the number for TX.
how do they
And
get funding? Are they government funded, or it's selling shirts?
No, selling shirts. So Tradesmen is the social enterprise department that they set up to. I should just do promotions for Tradesmen and TX. So yeah, the Tradesmen brand sells the workwear, and they are the primary funding source for the work that TX do. But then they have, well, as I said, we are alliance partners. There's a lot of other businesses who help fund them. I know that they get support from one of the Mazda outlets. They're based in Brisbane. One of the Mazda outlets has done a couple of utes up in one of these bright sort of patterns. Not ours. This is our custom one. But and they drive around in these utes, and that promotes the work they do. They've become a little bit of a juggernaut. They've got PR people
cool.
and marketing. And it's a really, really good story, though, because it came from such a terrible event, but they've been able to take that and build this into something wonderful. And we support them through like our golf day, which we just held last week. So that's our fundraiser to provide the funds.
Okay, yeah. So
to help provide the funds to them.
if there's a budget line for your preferred charity partner, then if it's $5,000, $10,000, whatever, then you set a goal to go make that money.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ideally, rather than taking it from membership or sponsorship, you
Exactly.
do an independent charity fundraise. Yep.
Through the golf day. Yep.
Yep. So, not that there's probably any members that would disagree with that being part of it. Like, it's not impacting anyone's fees. That it's not coming out of education. It's not coming out of advocacy. It's not coming out of training. It's coming out of an independent event.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the other thing we do is help provide support to TX to spread that message further through our trade show. So we run the landscape show once a year, which has now been in operation since 2018. And since we took TX on as our preferred charity partner, when it comes time for us to deliver that show, we give them a complimentary 3x3 stand so that they can be there, they can sell their shirts, they can educate people about the story, etc.
And obviously the awards, they're going to get some activation opportunity or
haven't got to that yet, but yes, we were talking about that the other day, driving around the golf cart, myself and Bianca, and talking about how we might be able to sort of further promote the cause, potentially raise some money on the awards night, that type of thing. So it's nice to feel that we can give back to an organisation that, and look, in the past we've done children's cancer charities, all that sort of thing, but I think this is far more. It's very much bringing home.
It's probably connected to a higher percentage of your members.
Exactly. So the connection between our membership, what they offer, and the fact that a lot of our members will need their service, I think it just hits a nail on the head as far as picking a charity. And there's plenty of them out there. They're all deserving, but I think the targeting of this one is ideal.
So you've got Mifgs coming up. This podcast will go live on March 3rd. So Mifgs will be 26 days out or something thereabouts.
Like that, yes.
Talk to me about what that means for each of you and what your weeks leading up to Mifgs look like.
Oh, David just sits back and says, "You go do it."
I'm the lucky one.
Yeah, just walk around like.
But
Photos?
Look, I must admit, with Megan and Bianca and Darren and our team, the effort that they put into this event is mind blowing, and it's the same with all of our events. Like it's one thing that I do make sure to say on each one of these events is that people don't actually understand what goes behind the scenes to create these events.
Oh, I know. I ask for that reason, to shine some light on it, but I'm also curious. Like, I see what it looks like for small teams to try and organise big events.
We're trying to delegate more. Like, in the past, it has been a lot on Mega's shoulders. So, as a board, I've gone in there and actually tried to push more about giving people different roles just to make it a little bit easier.
Well, a lot of the times that it's not that hard for that individual because it's inside their skill set.
Yeah.
And it might take a day of work away from you, and they're like, "Oh, that's easy, I'll do it." Or I've got people that can do it. Yeah.
Yeah, but we do have, like Megan puts out an email to the whole industry in regards to people that want to come in and help and, sit there and be an ambassador. Consultations and things
as in like
that.
Work on stands.
Yeah, and that always gets pretty full up. And it's quite good the amount of people that do want to give a bit more back.
And the show and the LV are independent.
The show is not ours.
No.
It's owned by Nursery and Gardens Industry Victoria and IMG. So it's their show, but our participation, is fairly critical.
Yep.
And a lot of our members get involved in building show gardens and things like that.
Do you have to be a member to build a show garden?
No.
No, so that could be open to...
Yes, can be open to anybody. And there's been plenty of South Australians who've come over.
that makes sense.
Yeah, yep. So we have Tim.
I think there's a few that want to. I know Tim's a show garden. Yeah, Tim Harper.
He's an addict.
He's a unique human being, that one. So, and it won't surprise me if this year he's just like in a stand somewhere and you're like, what are you doing here?
People get addicted.
And he'll be
to
building
it.
Someone else's garden with him, and you'll be like, don't you have a business and a family and like other things? Yeah, don't worry.
Yeah, no, people get addicted to it very much. So, but it's a really important vehicle for us to educate the public. So as we spoke earlier about the VBA potentially not doing their job and teaching the public about the importance of professional practitioners, it's one of the pieces that we have to take on ourselves to educate the public.
With no funding.
Yeah, with no funding. Please use registered licensed landscapers because otherwise you're going to end up in the poo. And
well, you see what happens when they don't.
We do.
As a CEO at a board, you get first contact from negative experiences.
People find us when they've had a bad
like, this went
experience.
wrong. You're like, were they licensed? Are they a member? Sorry, I can't help you. Like.
Exactly. So it's a really important public-facing service that we offer it's good for our brand to be there. So it's a branding exercise for us to say this is who we are and therefore who our members are. And then that's why, as David mentioned, we ask the members to help us. We need them there to be those people. So when somebody comes up to us and says, can you tell me about this or that, or how do I go about getting a design done, or how much does it cost to put in a pool? Go over and sit with David, go over and sit with Roz, go and sit with whoever and have a conversation. So that's actually been developed over a few years into the LV Advisory Centre. So it's now a full swinging activation as such that we provide at that show. We've got a big dome that we invested in years ago, a big marquee, it looks like a big snowball.
That's kind of the centre of attention for the cocktail event. That's where that's in that hub.
Yes.
a
So
bar.
you've been there
Yeah.
before, but the Dome is our advisory centre. So we have our members help
so it's a
out
bar.
there. We've got an online booking system that we put out. People will.
So they can come and get a slot. Get a 30-minute slot.
They'll get a 30-minute slot. So they basically get a free half-hour consultation with Steve Taylor or Ian Barker, or if we can get those people to come, we try to.
Oh, Ian will do
they,
it,
They
for
do
sure.
attract. Yeah, thanks, Ian. Thanks for
Got it
signing up.
locked down.
The attention that it draws, and the fact that people will pre-book before the show is even on, the fact that they turn up on the day with their plans, they want
You don't have
information.
no-shows. It matters to them.
It matters to them, absolutely. And then we've got people who walk up on the day. So if we do happen to have a no-show, we will just slot somebody else in. We basically book out. So by about the Friday, the weekend is booked out.
Thursday night you have your LV cocktail event,
Yes.
which I'm ridiculously excited about.
Yes, you've got a big group coming over
There's
this
22
year.
of us coming this year,
Fantastic.
and the only reason it's 22 and not 500, well maybe 50, is because you are also competing with the Formula One that weekend.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
well, not you, but they. And as it stood, we bought tickets in 2019, and this trip is our 2019 trip. So all the people that we had signed up to come have been sitting, waiting with flight credits and hotel credits. And then my assistant goes, "Hey, we should probably organise this." She's been way ahead of it. And I'm like, "Oh yeah, we need to go, don't we?" And to get the accommodation under the same budget, we're staying in Hawthorn, I think. So we're like 20 minutes out because we couldn't get anything for under, I think,
city. No.
600 or 700 a night for a room. So, but that whole contingent will come to the LV cocktail. Is that an important event for you? Like selling tickets to that's beneficial to you guys?
We don't make.
Is that you break even on it? Yeah. Okay.
No, we don't make a lot of the stuff. We don't make money on.
Yeah, I ask because I know with our awards, you need to sell a certain number of tickets to make an event worth doing, or to break even, or whatever.
It's about breaking even, quite honestly, with a lot of those things. And that night particularly, it doesn't earn us any money. It's about having an industry function and providing a place where people can network, catch up with suppliers, catch up with other practitioners they know. View the gardens, see what other people are doing at night. It's beautiful.
Well, it's first access, isn't it? Really?
Well, it's pretty much access without the
general public,
dirty, filthy public. Yeah.
We love you, public. Buy more gardens.
But you don't have to battle your way through the crowds, and the show can get very, very busy.
And you're also able to talk to the people that built the garden at night in a relaxed environment after they've finally just gone.
Absolutely, or they might invite you onto their garden.
We had that. One of our guys was in one of the
it.
gardens. I'm like, "What do you?" I don't think he was invited in there. He was just sitting in there. I'm like, "What are you doing? Get out of there!" Like,
but you're right. It is a relaxed atmosphere.
Well, they're finished.
You're walking around the gardens. All of the gardens are lit up with their lighting and
bar gardens at night. Thanks very much.
But it's a good time just to really have a good look without 20,000 people around.
Yeah, and then they all go over to the pub and just destroy the rest of the night. But
no, Clint, we don't do that.
No, that must be the South Australian contingent.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm getting confused.
I would have thought the 22 of you coming over are all teetotalers. I can't imagine that you'd have a drink at all.
No. Some of us. Actually, I don't think anyone coming over is that. But anyway.
No, look, it's a great event. It's a good place for people to showcase their skills and their teams if they are prepared to do it. It's a big...
Because it costs money as well, right? Like you could drop 100 into a garden.
I know a lot of people who have dropped 100 to build a garden, but it has.
But this is our Chelsea,
ongoing.
right?
Yeah, it's our Chelsea, and it has ongoing effects. They will, I've spoken to people who've said they'll get a phone call from somebody who says, "I saw your garden at the Flower and Garden Show 5 years ago."
Yeah, I've heard that.
So the longevity of the investment is definitely there.
Well, people that can afford 250, 500, 750 on a garden live in different time horizons than the rest of the world. And so 5 years they're thinking like, okay, well in 5 years when we knock down that block and we build the house, so by the end of the 10-year time horizon it'll be finished. That's how they think. So that's not, I'm not surprised by that. And I think there's probably other benefits, like your staff getting to actually like be part of something that, obviously building gardens is amazing and you've got the awards, but then to go do that as a special thing, and everyone that I've spoken to that's built show gardens talk about how it's just this unique experience that doesn't compare to anything. Like, it's such an intense,
crazy.
dopamine spike, like no sleep, all get it done, you know.
Which is why some people get addicted to it, because it is such a rush
Yeah.
to do it. Yeah.
But if the smart contractors, like they'll go out and they'll get their materials, they'll get companies to sponsor them.
Time as
so you can be really cost
and
effective.
you can start building the pieces early, right?
100%.
Like I've been watching Joel from Installs on his stories. You can see he's building the pieces,
Components. Yeah.
Now I wouldn't be sharing that because I'd be like, you know, well maybe I would, but I'm sure there'd be plenty of landscapers that don't want anyone to see any of it until it's done. But he's obviously so comfortable with what he's doing that
most people have got their plans in by now, so it's not.
Oh, because they have to lodge a plan,
Yeah.
don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it can't really change from that.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
And over the past years where my company's been involved, we would actually build it all in our factory
And just bring it in.
and then just pull it all apart and put it up. And,
And then you could also potentially use some of those pieces in jobs.
yes,
If
100%.
you're really thinking about it.
Some show gardens you'll actually see a sign on it saying for sale.
The garden, yep.
Yeah,
We'll stick
so
it in
they
the
will
back
actually
garden. Or
sell-
a version of it. Yeah.
Yeah, but if they've welded a pergola together that could easily just be picked
Just
up
crane
and,
it into
and
someone's backyard.
put into someone's garden,
Yeah.
absolutely they'll sell it.
Yeah,
So
we've done that. 100% done that with the pergola we put on a display at a pool and spa show.
Yeah. How does the judging work? Is it judged? Is it a similar thing? Like, does LV judge that, or is it the show gardens, or they work in conjunction
There's
with you?
usually 3 or 4 industry experts who
They'll grab
are pulled in to do it.
Yep.
So
They grab like a famous one for the marketing. That obviously that still has a brain.
well, there'll be. I'm pretty sure the judges this year are going to include Tina Crawford, who's a very well-known horticulturalist here, Andrew Laidlaw, who's the head of the Royal Botanic Gardens. He's also a great landscape architect, designer. Started out as a landscape builder. So, these are people who know the ins and outs of it. I'm pretty sure Georgia might be
Georgia Harper.
They're not just grabbing
judging
like
again,
the winner of Big
Georgia
Brother
Harper.
2021. Kind of
No,
thing.
they are not. Absolutely not. They're all industry experts who've got years and years of expertise. There's very strict criteria that they're judging against. So there's forms that they have to go through. They have to, mark against the design intent and the fake brief, because obviously it's a fake garden.
So they set up a brief of what the build. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and how well do the plants sit in that space, and also there's a whole range of things that are there listed in the criteria. It's a really detailed document. I've seen it. Probably goes for about 6 pages, and it's very, very specific. And they give their subjective view of how many marks they give against each of those criteria, and then the 4 of them, together will then come up with, who is best in show. But then the marks will dictate whether somebody gets a gold, a silver
And
gilt.
so it's like a high school kind of like if you get 86 to not 100, or so 90 to 100, you might get a gold, and then
Exactly.
80 to 90, 70 to 80.
Exactly.
Best in show. It's not necessarily the best score, but it's the best in show. Or it's likely the best score.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that's how that works. Similar to the judging criteria we use for our own awards. Again, it's pages of documentation that outline criteria.
Do they theme it?
No, they're generally, it's an open theme.
Was there a 25-year? I remember they were talking about a 25-year.
Well, that was supposed to be in 2020, so that ended up just...
And that was only going to be people that had won
Disappearing.
gold could come back, and
Yes.
that was the desire or the theory.
Yes, it was going to be the best of the best. So
And it didn't happen.
no, 2020 killed that one pretty badly. So it was unfortunate, because I think that would have been an
Would
absolute
have been nuts, especially to come
cracking
back
show.
after a bit of a break. But then also depends on what people's financial positions are as well.
Yeah.
Like if they got some of that COVID gov money, or if it was more like, no, we only just survived and we're not building a garden this year.
Yeah, exactly. And then, the following year it was a little bit dodgy for some people if they were coming from interstate. They didn't want to be
I don't think we could come
shut
to the
out,
last one,
with border closures and things like that. So, look, it's had an unfortunate couple of years, but the show came back very well last year with 105,000 visitors, which is massive over the 5 days. Something that we aspire to get with our trade show, which we never will, because it's not for Joe Public.
Not with that attitude.
No, it's not.
It's growing.
It's not for Joe
every year.
Public. It's for trades. It's,
I haven't been, but it's every
Have
year.
you not been to the
No.
landscape show?
Our last one was fantastic.
I look at it, I'm like, we should go to that, and then
Do I have to send a personal invitation to get you
that'd
over?
be really nice,
or-
actually. I kind of like stuff like that.
But you'd
Yeah,
be
okay.
surprised when we first started. getting all the stands filled
Yeah.
and the amount of people that came through, and then it's just grown and grown, and now we're getting, Megan's getting calls going, oh, when's it ready? Can we book in? We want to, and it's exciting.
Yeah, that is cool. The I've not just thought about coming, but thought about doing something as well. Like I'm going, well, this could work for one or more of my businesses that are able to ship to Victoria, or that might be open to other stuff. But
you don't get that?
No,
I'll turn it off.
I didn't want to interrupt you. He can edit this out. That's all right. You're a businessman. You're important. The president, running a big company.
Oh no, it's still vibrating.
It is you.
Yep, it is me. Sorry.
Where was I going?
So I can pull that back up for you. No, I've completely turned it around from Mifgs because that's not our show. I want to talk about our show.
So Landscape Victoria. So what's it called? The Landscape Show, right?
Yes.
Do you talk to me about what's in there? Is it really like trade stands, or is there builds as well?
No, it is absolutely B2B, and it's to connect the supply chain to the practitioners.
Which is important because, and obviously I see it from the South Australian side, sponsors want access to members.
Absolutely.
And so you've created an event to be able to facilitate that in a formal way.
Yeah, absolutely. So the types of exhibitors we get there are anything from truck suppliers, paving, decking screws, hand tools, power tools. It's really the full gamut of anything that a landscaping or a maintenance business would use. Plants, a lot of the nurseries come and bring their stock as well. Can
they sell there?
They can if they want to.
You can do cash and carry?
Yeah,
Yep.
It's up to them. If they can be bothered bringing in the stock, they can bring that in their square or whatever they want to bring. We don't stop them from doing that. We encourage them to have show specials because that will help us sell the show to people.
Call to action.
Just come along to the show and you can get 5% off your next purchase with whomever. So we ask them for their show specials so we can promote those for them. But it's a really good way for teams to go out. It's provides another team bonding exercise if they all go out together. It provides the relationship building between the retailer and the buyer. You would know with your own retail chain, you don't often see a lot of your clients these days. Things are done by email or things are done.
Do that. We do what you're doing. We're on an island there though. Like my businesses are very unique. We have events all the time.
Yeah.
And that's why.
But you understand how most businesses don't do that. So the opportunity to
touch.
be face to face with somebody who they might have dealt with for years, but have only ever spoken to maybe once in a while, or the rest of the time it's been on email. Yeah. They love it. It's a really great opportunity.
Seeing from a supplier standpoint what people will tell you on the side of a marquee in 10 minutes that they wouldn't tell you over the phone, or you'd never find out. It's face-to-face wins the race. COVID hurt my, I guess, happiness in business the most because I love this. I love meeting new people and talking, connecting and flying around and having dinners, and it just stopped. And, to have an event like that facilitates informal conversations in a I guess, a formal way. Like you've got, this is the place, this is the time, come and do it. I think it's something that other states will start to look at. Like, it won't surprise me if South Australia just have an original one as well. That's just a direct copy of yours.
We need to talk, Clint, because we're talking about putting out a model that package that you could buy to deliver your own. So we'll have to have a chat. Franchises.
I'll just find the torrent site and just rip it off.
You'd be surprised how many companies actually will come along and they'll bring their apprentices and they'll bring their whole team. And it's that whole team that really don't get to talk to the suppliers. So all the, face to face, where all they're doing is ringing up going, I'll have a half a metre of sand, or I'll have plants, and that's it. But then if they can go there, speak to their suppliers, they're more of a face-on-face thing, which is really important.
And the designers get to see products as well, so that they can start specking them.
And then you start understanding what's being grown, what's coming up. So you're not specking plants in that aren't going to be available in a year or...
Yeah. The one area that we want to grow more is in the commercial space. So we're wanting to attract more suppliers of street furniture, playgrounds, those sorts of things.
From a membership standpoint or a sponsorship standpoint, or both?
No, just to connect them to the
connect them
industry.
better.
Yeah. There's, the commercial space is a really important part of the whole sector.
Yeah.
So
I think the commercial people can sometimes feel left out in the industries as a whole.
Yeah.
I see it. I talk to commercial landscapers. They're like, look, we're happy to be part of it. We actually like to help support it because it supported us when we were small. But I guess they're less dependent on it than they might have been. But it's important to make sure that they don't get left behind from a connection standpoint, I guess.
Absolutely. So we've started getting more exhibitors in that space. We've had a couple of really good supporters over the last couple of years, but that's an area that we want to grow. It's always an interesting event to put on, because you see that excitement between the exhibitors. As David said, they're chomping at the bit and calling us, when's it on, when can I book my space? And through to the attendees who love going, there's always giveaways and all sorts of things that happen, show bags and all sorts of fun stuff.
When the idea came up, it was you were like, I need another event.
No, it was my idea.
It was your idea.
Yeah. Yep. That was
and it's
my
been successful.
Are you
stupid
full-time?
idea. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so you've got that. That's all you do.
Yeah.
And try and have a happy life.
Yeah. But the
Meg
show was
doesn't have a
my
life.
This is her happy life.
the show was my stupid idea. So it's been nice to see it grow because it's my baby. So it's been lovely to see it develop to a point where
Because you care about it, yeah.
we need a good website behind it. We need all these other things to support it because it has got to that point that it's running so well. The first year, gosh, so many spreadsheets coming out my ears to try and manage exhibitors and all that sort of stuff. And
but once you've created that once, like you've said, you just rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
And improve.
Yeah. Rinse and repeat I don't like as a
Well, it sounds derogatory to the quality of your spreadsheet, but...
Yeah, but it's not that easy. There's always a lot of work that
But you're not
goes
rebuilding, you're not reinventing the wheel every year. You're like,
No,
okay,
the
well...
concept's
same with
there.
I don't want to go back to the Mifgs because I know that it's not your show, but once they've ran the cables, they know where they go.
Yes.
And once they know where the 10 pegs can't go. You're
Yes.
not relearning that every year.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're looking to improve it.
Exactly. You want
year.
to improve it and bring something new to it so that you can attract people who've been in the past. They're not just going to go, oh, yeah, I went last year, don't need to go this year. You want them back because you want them to know, well, we've got more exhibitors, there's new products there, there's new services that you can find out about. We've got great speakers, whatever it is, you want them to come back and have another good experience with you. And the same with the exhibitors, you want to offer them a bigger audience. So you need to know that you've got people coming in to feed their desire to get their product or their service in front of more people. So,
But you do market it very well. Like your marketing is top notch, which
Well,
really helps.
we try.
It's like anything. You'll get given an amount of money you can spend and you try and make it as efficient as possible. Like, we've only got a very limited amount of time left. I just want to ask a couple of quick questions.
Is this the rapid round fire?
It's not really
Rapid
rapid
fire
fire.
round?
It's just things I want to know that, and I'm going to squeeze them in. So, obviously, we talked earlier about the misconception of what's happening at board level or at CEO level, and what the membership might think you're doing and what you're actually doing. Give me one thing that you wish members or sponsors knew that is consistently left out of the conversation, or like if you had an opportunity to have a post that you posted on LinkedIn and all your members saw it, like what would you love to say to your members? And I guess that's a question for each of you. You might have different answers.
Ooh.
Tough question. Well, I think what the members really need to know is that we are working hard to get our industry and grow it, and to be able to create that license like we were talking about earlier. I think that'd be a comforting thing for them to know that in the background that is being worked hard at. I don't think they really realise that what we're doing to try and improve that side of the industry, and we'll get it there. And then all of a sudden, when we get it to where we wanted to get it, we'll create more membership, we'll create more staff, and that's the whole idea of going to the VBA with this, is just to be able to make it that if you're going to be licensed as a landscaper, that you have to be a member of our association. So my picture is to grow it, and I think the industry needs to know that we are working very hard to improve our industry.
What was the question again?
If you could, I guess the short version, if you could post something on LinkedIn and every one of your members were able to see it and digest it and understand it better, what would be a message you'd like to give to your members that maybe they're not hearing or that's not getting enough light?
Oh gosh,
Or what are the top 5?
There's a lot of elements to it. I think David probably hit the nail on the head. For me, it's around, I suppose, my frustrations. That probably answers the questions. My frustrations are people who sit back and say, yeah, I don't need to be a member of an industry body. I don't think they understand that there are benefits that they are getting. They're probably intangible to them, but they are actually benefiting indirectly, even if they're not a member. But it would be we could do so much more if we actually had their support.
I had that conversation with a non-member the other day of the South Australian Association and said, regardless of if you're a member or not, you are going to benefit from what we're doing. I can't sell it to you anymore. If you get on board, it means we can hire more staff and make it happen quicker.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you don't, then we're going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
And congratulations,
Yeah.
you benefited from it.
Yeah.
Because he is licensed and insured and everything.
Yeah. So we saw a little bit of that through COVID because we were very open with our information that we were getting. Things here in Victoria were just shit. There was no other way to put it. We were dealing with a lot of stuff and lockdowns and all that sort of thing. People were turning to us saying, well, can I work? Can't I work? Do I need a permit to drive here? What do I... There were 500,000 questions that were being thrown at us. And I worked really hard to try and get answers for people, or I had to make my own interpretations sometimes of what the government were putting out because it was so vague and so grey. But we were very open with that. We didn't just close it off and put it in a member portal and say this is only for members. We put it on our broadcasting socials to share with everybody, and people were so appreciative of it. It was actually a really good time for us. We recruited quite a few members after that because they could see the benefit of what we did as an industry body. So that sort of thing, as much as that was a crappy time, it was a valuable lesson for us to learn that by putting information out, we were more visible.
I think it's nice to have 20 or 30% of the things that you offer to your members available to everyone, like the mental health packages. Like, it makes sense, and then they go, ooh, it's like a funnel. They're like, oh, if this is that good, well, imagine what else we've got. Otherwise they don't see anything, and that's why I do the videos that I do, to go, this is what we're doing, but everyone sees that. So anything else you want to plug at the moment? You got anything coming up? Obviously, that we're 25 days out from Mifgs. Come buy some tickets, come and support the landscape industry. Buy some tickets,
come to the industry night. It's a great night. Obviously, the landscape show, that's
with
May,
the industry
May
night.
24.
Are you happy for landscapers from other states to contact you?
Absolutely.
And come to the industry night?
Absolutely. We love it when people contact us from either different states, different organisations.
So if Nursery and Garden from South Australia or...
For us, it's an all-in. The more people there, the merrier.
It's not a general public thing, though?
Not a general public thing, absolutely not. It's
so
supposed
you have to be an industry...
You've got to be related to the industry somehow. So whether that's from the supply chain or from a practitioner point of view, we absolutely open the door to anybody to join us.
People that listen to this podcast are pretty much industry, so... So come to that and make sure when your next landscape show is on.
Well, put it in your diary now, May 24. Yep, right now, write it down, May 24.
I'm not in Australia then, but that's fine, we'll work it out.
And we're also getting involved with Sparza in the next garden and pool show.
Okay, cool.
So that's a...
yes, that's called the Backyard and Garden Show.
Yes.
So that'll be July.
That was a question I had, and we kind of ran out of time, but like your connections with other...
We're connected with that as well.
We're trying to connect with you... Well, I'm trying to connect with you as a South Australian equivalent, and then I'm curious, are you working with Sparza or then... other industry
Master
bodies.
Pool Builders
Association
it's very connected,
Australia,
as they are now known, formerly Sparza Victoria. But yes, they've got a show, the Backyard and Garden Show, that we co-host with them.
You'll start listening to this, you can very much easily understand how it's hard for you to get the advocacy and the governance and the other stuff done when you're doing awards show, like...
But it's all important.
I get that, I'm more like giving you a compliment and saying, like,
thank you.
Members, if you're worried that, if you're kind of curious as to why some things take a lot of time, it's because all those awards and that, they still have to happen.
If you think your membership fees are going to a couple of people sitting around drinking coffee all day,
we didn't even have coffee.
That's a lie.
And I bought the waters, right? Relax.
We got involved in this show, the first one that we actually went to Sparza and said to them, and especially because I've been involved in the Sparza shows for many years, and the complaints that we got were people would come in, they go, all we get is just pools and spas, there's not enough of you guys. So we sort of took that to Sparza.
Makes sense.
And throw the rock in the pond to see what would happen. And then they created the show. And then the first show they created, they doubled their attendance, like the amount of people that came through.
Because there was landscape attached.
Yes, and it's really appealing. Now, even with the last pool and spa show that we just had not so long ago, same thing. A lot of people would come up to our stand and say, look, there's not enough landscapers, and they'd see landscaping, and all we're there to do is promote our industry, and then we go, okay, well, just get ready because one in June's coming up, and so people.
And your members jumped on that, like they get an opportunity to be part of it.
They come and help us out on our stand.
So they'll do a 3-hour stint.
Yeah,
or whatever.
But there's absolutely capacity for more of them to get involved and have their own stand to promote their own business, as David did with Coolabah
for many years.
And
there's nothing wrong with that. That's
you reap the rewards for years. As I said, same with somebody doing a show garden at Mifgs. It's the same as having a stand at one of these shows. The benefits roll on year after year after year because you still get calls from people saying that they've met you at a show.
So good.
It's ongoing work.
I think one of my other big frustrations with small business owners who are trades based and perhaps don't have that understanding of marketing is they tend to not know how to market themselves properly at all, but things are really busy at the minute, and I think there's a lot of talk about a decline. Whether that comes next year, 5 years, 10 years, we know the markets fluctuate. There's always going to be a time when things are on the downhill slide. If you haven't been out marketing when times are good, it's too late to do it, and you also then don't have the funds potentially when things are going downhill a little bit. So, we've done it over the years. We've tried to do some education pieces around marketing, whether that be social marketing or what have you. But I would actively encourage businesses to really think and really read the material that we put out to consider participating in these types of shows. We're not saying it, come along for shits and giggles. There is a real reason behind why we invest ourselves and why we encourage other people to invest their own time and a small bit of funding to be part of something like that.
It's fun as well.
Because they will get leads out of it. They'll grow their business, they'll grow their brand. It is fun too.
Well, you think sometimes there's going to be some, flagship people there that have been around for 40 years and you've been around for 12, and you get to stand next to that person for 3 hours. You don't know what you're going to pick up from that.
Absolutely.
So.
But look, all of our members benefit because when we're handing our booklet out, they've got all of our members are in there, and we encourage the clients to go out and find our members.
All right, I thank you very much for your time. I'm sorry,
can't we keep talking?
We can, and I think what might work is to do another podcast in another period. I'm back here for Mifgs, and I'm guessing you're going to be crazy busy around that period, but
I might acknowledge you if you walk past.
Okay, I'll get one of those shirts. You won't miss me. If people want to get in touch with LV, we'll link up all the details, but what's the website's the best way
website's to easiest, landscapingvictoria.com.au. Cool. And they can contact us through that, or obviously through our socials as well.
Awesome, thank you so much. And again, sorry to kick you out. I'm just got one of your members about to
knock down the door
and give us hopefully some knowledge, but appreciate you making the time, and thanks for having me on the podcast yesterday as well.
No worries. Thanks, Clint.
Thank you.